Welcome to the TDC Today Show communities. My name is Sue Roscoff. The Disability Channel, or TDC, is out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, showcasing abilities. TDC is committed to providing quality digital media production services, education, and employment programs by and for persons with disabilities and veterans. TDC offers digital media production, video production, post production, social media, and podcast creation, production, and support. TDC offers education and employment programming, which includes digital media courses to persons with disabilities who are unemployed and underemployed. TDC also offers community partnerships. Through partnerships and sponsorships, community partners and organizations become ability champions by supporting media created by and for people with disabilities and veterans. We are your USA team. I am excited to bring in a brand new guest to the show tonight. And you're going to want to know more. He's got some interesting things to share with us that is it's gonna pique your interest in so many ways. But before I bring him in, I'm gonna go ahead and bring in Emily Golmer to do the fine introductions. Emily, welcome aboard. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. Or am I not? Oh, there we go. So welcome everybody, and at the Disability Channel and Toronto and Canada. Yes, and we do have a great guest tonight, who's all about silver and gold, and is out on the East Coast in Virginia, and is into the whole gold prospecting and metal detecting, and so on. So, I think you will enjoy listening to his story. So welcome, Ben. How are you?
Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here on the show, and I'm happy to get started and answer any questions you have. So, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am a U.S. veteran of the U.S. Air Force. Spent 9.5 years in the military, and I loved every minute of it. Obviously, the patriotic flag behind me. Uh, I just My grandmother instilled, my patriotism in me at a very early age, and so I continue that tradition today. Um, yeah, so my background has been in, gold prospecting and metal detecting, as Emily said. I spent 30 years, playing in the mountains and on the beaches and just looking for treasure in general. I never thought that one day it would lead into, a second career for me. And that's what I'm doing today. I help people understand the importance of converting some of our fiat currency into actual gold and silver. So if you ever had any thoughts about storing your money in something other than a bank, we have a very good option for you, and I would love to tell you a lot more about it. I'll start off by saying, there's a short educational video at silvergoldfreedom.com that you can check out. I think that it'll give you a little idea of what I do, and hopefully, you'll register on that page and we'll have a further conversation about the things that I'm about to share with you on the show tonight. I don't know what else you want me to say right now, or if you want me to get into it, but I'll turn it back over to Sue.
Well, actually, I think I would love to bring in a fellow vet to this conversation. Alan Holmes is a great friend of the show, and I want to make sure to have you coming on in here and joining into this. So, Alan, how are you tonight?
Well, first of all, you caught me. I was out there, looking at Ben's QR code, and I was gonna scared. But first of all, young man, from one U.S. Army to a U.S. Air Force, thank you for your service, and thank you for protecting us across this great land. And gold and silver, oh my goodness. Wow, 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 wow. I am nosy, nosy, nosy. Alan Holmes, Master Connector, just enjoying wonderful Thanksgiving, all you collaborating, connecting, networking, and educating and learning more about gold and silver with the gentleman you may know, Ben Rusk. Back to you, Sue. Emily Kurt, just hanging out, Southern California. Love you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Alan. Well, I do want to dive in just a little bit more, Ben. So if you want to tell us where, I guess let's go on the backstory here. How did you get started in this whole interest with gold and silver?
Well, I got started back in the late 70s with a desire to go gold panning, really. I mean, we didn't have Gold Rush TV shows back then. It was just something that just struck me as well. I guess the story starts in the East Coast where I was born and raised. And then I moved to the West Coast. And in my mind, I thought, I'm like a pioneer. I'm going west. And what did they do when they went west? Well, it was the call of the gold strike, right? So everywhere I went as a kid, I thought there must be gold there. And I looked and I looked and I looked and I never found anything, but I kept looking because I knew one day I was going to get a big old nugget and I was going to be happy. So as I educated myself and learned how impossible that was going to be because the big ones had already been found and picked up by somebody else, but they left a lot of little stuff behind, and that's the key to prospecting for gold is the better you get at gold recovery, you can find gold anywhere. It'll just be in smaller increments. But most of the gold in the world right now is, they call it 1 grain. You talk about a grain, a gram, an ounce. Well, a grain is like, uh, think of it as, you know, a grain of rice sliced into 4 chunks. That would be like 1 grain. We have scales that can weigh that fine of a gold quantity. So, that's why, in Gold Rush today, you'll see that they use a lot of equipment and they move millions of yards of dirt to find just a little bit. It's because you have to find that, move that much earth to find the gold that's in the ground. But it's in the ground everywhere. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to extract and at what cost. So that's what got me into gold panning. I was living in Montana and I found a friend that took me out to a river and we just peeled open a rock, a slate rock. We just peeled it up and brushed the dust off with a dustpan brush into a pan, took it down to the river and panned it out. And I found gold for the first time in my life. It's about knowing where to look for it. The rains come down and we have flood waters that push gold around. Well, when gold moves around, it moves to very specific locations. And the education that you can get from joining a gold prospecting club will teach you where those areas are. So when I go down to a stream, a creek, a river, and I look at it, I can tell where I would start because I know how gold travels and how water pushes that gold. So just by looking at a location, I can pretty much tell you where the best places that you'll have your highest chances of finding gold. So all that to be said, I probably spent 30 years learning these techniques and learning how to be a gold prospector and learn how to be a metal detectorist, metal detecting with a gold detector. Um, and I thought I knew a lot about the industry, but when I was introduced to gold and silver bullion, a new world opened up to me. Somebody had already done the work to dig it out of the ground. Now it was in a shape that actually, was in a recognizable shape around the world. I can take this ounce of gold that I hold in my hand anywhere in the world, and I could start negotiating at spot price to exchange this for whatever currency of the land I was in. I tell the story about being a pirate. Why did pirates grab gold, silver, and gems? Because they didn't know what shore they were going to land on, but they knew that what they were carrying with them would be accepted on any shore, and they could start a life over again, right? I mean, you didn't hear of pirates collecting, you know, seashells and coconut shells, right? I mean, because it wasn't of value. They didn't put that in the treasure chest. They grabbed the treasures that had been treasures for thousands of years. diamonds, emeralds, rubies, gold, silver. I mean, just throughout history, this has been the exchange of value between kings and queens. Countries have fought over it. So that's what you want to be holding for yourself today, right? Don't be holding these notes, these IOUs that everybody exchanges on a daily basis, hoping that it's still going to be worth something tomorrow. When you're holding gold and silver, you know exactly what you have and you know exactly what it's going to be worth tomorrow. Gold and silver, I say that it's always bought. Gold and silver will always buy what gold and silver has always bought, because the value of gold and silver rises and falls with inflation. So no matter what they do to the local currency, whether they're in a recession or whether they're dealing with inflation, gold and silver will hold a particular value in a economy, so that you will be able to afford the things you want to afford. The better thing is to start saving money on things you have to buy so you can buy the things that you want to buy. So, how do we do that? Well, we stop paying fees, right? We stop letting inflation and interest eat away at our money. Pay off your debt, stop paying credit card interest. Uh, get your money into something tangible. Stop paying bank fees. Stop dealing with inflation. I told the story earlier of, we're dealing with a 1.5% inflation each month, right? So that's better than 12% of your money is going to inflation every year. If you're saying you're in a high yield savings account of 5% a year, well, your money sitting there doing nothing is losing 7% or better a year. So your money's literally evaporating by holding it in a bank, not putting it to work for you. But put it into an asset that rises and falls with inflation. Inflation rising causes a dollar's value to go down, but inflation rising causes the value of gold and silver to go up. So as long as your money is going up with inflation or whatever other investments you have it in, you need a seesaw mechanism, right? So if the economy goes one direction and one asset goes down, the other asset goes up. And if it reverses, this asset will go down and my previous asset will go up. You'll stay balanced so that you're not losing your life savings by holding your money in an asset that's potentially giving you third party risk, meaning that somebody else is holding your money. So that's kind of the backstory on how I got here.
Wow. So, okay, so if a person is wanting to start diving into this, do they need to be a millionaire to start buying into this? Is this something that is just for the rich?
No. So the rich invest their money, Inc. magazine said that the rich invest their money in five particular assets: exclusive real estate, fine art, rare coins, gold, and other usable precious metals. You know, we have a program that allows you to invest in gold and silver with as little as $1 at a time. I want to reach out to the young people in the audience and say, buy 1 or 2 ounces of silver every month. And by the time you graduate from high school to the time you retire, if you did that consistently every month, you'd be sitting on a wealth that you can't imagine by the time you retire. You essentially at retirement become your own bank. When you need something, you don't even need to dip into your retirement funds or Social Security. You'll be able to, utilize your gold and silver as a loan and you can pay yourself back. So you'll have your emergency expenses covered, you'll have your living expenses covered. And if the price of gold and silver goes up from the time you bought it, you're going to have, a return on your, acquisition costs. I don't want to say investment, because we really don't invest in gold and silver. We just exchange paper dollars for physical assets. So I look at it as a conversion, not as a purchase, right? A purchase is something that somebody else gives you and you use it for a while or you consume it. An exchange is just taking money you already have and turning it into money that you should have, right? So you still are holding the same amount of wealth. And that's one of the things that I've realized is that, you know, more and more, but it's like the value there, I, it's hard to explain. It's just watching that seesaw, right? I keep taking money out of here and putting it over there, and I think that I spent money, but my bottom line is staying stable. It's because I'm just moving money around. I'm not spending it. You're converting it into something that's a little more safe and tangible than other assets that could be considered third party risk. So the question is really who's holding your money? So, did that answer the question?
Yes, and I just want to bring this back around to ask if either Alan or Emily, if you guys have any questions for Ben right now. Alan, how about you? Just want to make sure you have a chance to ask whatever you'd like before I bring our last participant into
Well,
the room.
I wanted to again thank Ben for his sacrifice in this great country and bringing up with silver and gold because brother, I served over in 87 to 90, 13 Bravo, and I remember the great big buildings called exchanges, and they're now called euros, but back then they were called German marks. And the first year I got out, I actually had German marks in my pocket and wish I kept them, but now, fast forward to gold and silver, you're right. It is something that is not taught among the as we were growing up. So thank you for giving us a great education lesson and giving us back why we're great into keep building assets and value. So, sir, thank you again. It's just, yeah, I know we have another guest, Mr. Kurt Roscoff in the wings. Thank you, sir. Hope your
You're
family
very
is
welcome.
doing well.
Excellent. Well, and speaking of Kurt, I think we'll go ahead and bring him on in to get his take on all of this as well. How you doing tonight, Kurt?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. I was just talking with our friends over at Pulling Each Other Along Collective and D3 Day camps. So lots of exciting things going on at all fronts. It's good stuff.
Excellent. Well, I just wanted to check and see. Did you have any questions for Ben? I know we're running towards the end here, so I just want to open the possibilities for you.
All right, Ben, I'm going to ask you a doozy of a question. Are you seeing precious metals, gold, silver, whatever, in this for people that do trusts? Do you see gold, silver, precious metals being applied to what people do to seen anything go that direction?
I lost the last part of that question right
I was
before
just
your.
asking if you've seen the realm of precious metals go that direction, being applied to what people are trying to do with trusts, and is there an application for precious metals in that area?
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about assets. A trust is something to protect an asset and to leave an asset to a future generation. That's my main mission is to help people understand what it means to leave a legacy to future generations, right? Convert your wealth or put your wealth into something tangible. Use it as you need it for your lifetime, but then it can be passed along. And there's not a lot of red tape in handing somebody some precious metals out of a safe to the next generation. It's like, you say you leave the instructions that here's the combination. I want you to hand my grandson at age 18, and he's going to spin the dial and spin the wheel and open the door. And imagine being 18 years old and looking upon that with specific instructions on how to utilize it throughout your life, right? I told the story earlier of Ben Franklin, who put thousands of ounces of silver aside in two cities. He said, for the first 100 years, you can use these ounces of silver to make small business loans to businessmen so they can get their businesses off the ground. For the second 100 years, you can use it for utilities and municipalities to build infrastructure for the city. And then at the end of the second 200 years, they used the money and the interest that it all had gathered to build the Museum of Science and the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. and the other one's in Boston. And, it accrued enough value through loaning it out and interest payments that there was enough money to build the Franklin Institute. I mean, I visited that building as a kid many times, many school trips there. And I know how huge that building is. And think about it, that thing was built hundreds of years ago, right? So, as far back as we can remember, people have been utilizing gold and silver as their own personal bank to make loans to people. So if you protect it and utilize it properly, you can make loans to people and they can pay you back interest. That's putting your money to work for you. So, and you can leave it as a beneficiary as well.
I mean, the reason I bring that up is, with U.S. Disability Services and, with Social Security benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, there's, you know, these financial vehicles out there of special needs trusts, and there's ABLE accounts and so forth. And, I am just picking up on that to me is an untapped application, for Americans with disabilities to use these, government tools that people with disabilities can build up a reserve to go over and above what government benefits, what Medicare, Medicaid, what these special needs programs, disability services, what's available there, where then government talks about unmet needs, and
Right.
so basically needs for American disabilities that are approved that the caseworkers and so forth can leave as not taking people off of the Medicare programs, Medicaid, and Social Security benefits, stuff like that, because the reserves are there for things functionally specific to the acknowledged disability for the American with a disability. And so it just seems like an area to really help our country evolve in, to help American with disabilities, benefit from, your specialty here and, help improve the position of Americans with disabilities. Have you ever had a conversation like that before? The idea I
I,
bring up?
I I have not. I've had conversations around trusts. Like
Yeah.
any other asset, you can leave the asset in a trust. The nice thing about a trust is it can have very specific stipulations on how it can be used, right? So, if there's an emergency, you can take a loan out of the assets of the trust to take care of an emergency. So, like I said, you're basically, you become your own bank. And if you treat it as such and you make a loan to yourself and you pay yourself back, that uh, that account will continue to grow over time and always be available in times of need. And if you find that you don't need it, then you can use it to help other people by making small loans to them, charging a reasonable interest rate, right? Because everybody understands the value of having the money to do what you need to do and paying back, your obligation. But, the banks today, they make loans and the interest rates are astronomical. And that's because we've gotten away from helping your neighbor. So if we get back to individuals helping your neighbor with what means you have available, we can help a lot more people, and we don't need, such uh, gouging interest rates to make ourselves, feel like we've contributed to society.
Yeah, I love this. The whole concept of leaving a legacy, and that's actually right in your website, silvergoldlegacy.com. Again, check out that website, silvergoldlegacy.com, or scanning that QR code on the back of Ben's picture there. That is a great place to start to find out more and to take on that education process so that you understand what this all is. This has been a great introduction to the whole idea. Find out more. Take that time to reach out and connect with Ben and see what this could be for you. So
Absolutely.
So
Happy
Ben,
to
I just
answer any
want to
questions and point people in the right direction. I mean, that's the mission. You know, we need to get gold and silver into everybody's hands around America. Open in 32 countries. We can ship around the world. It's a real pleasure to be here and to share this information with your audience.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ben. We really appreciate you. And Kurt, Alan, Emily, it's always great to have you, all the crew here, especially thankful here on this night before Thanksgiving for all the great things we get to do with the Disability Channel and so many amazing things coming up in the next few months into the next year. And with what Ben is bringing to us here with the ideas of how to make the most of it. Be sure to find out more. Again, silvergoldlegacy.com is your place to start and reach out to Ben. So this again has been an episode of the TDC Today Show communities, and what a great community we have here, supporting each other, lifting each other up, and educating us on all these great things that can help us all.